John adjusted his thick-rimmed glasses and stared at the court in front of him, feeling both a rush of excitement and a pang of uncertainty. The girls on the tennis team were practicing drills, their laughter and camaraderie weaving through the air like a melody. He wasn't sure what drew him to the team in the first place. Maybe it was their infectious energy or how effortlessly they seemed to embody confidence. Maybe it was something deeper, something he had yet to name. The truth was, John had always felt a little different. He loved sports, but not in the way most of the boys around him did. The hyper-competitive aggression of his school's football team made him uneasy. The casual cruelty of the basketball team's locker room banter left him cold. Tennis, though, it had always felt elegant, precise, and strangely comforting. Watching the girls' team practice had become his little escape, a moment of clarity in a world where he often felt like he didn't belong. It started innocently enough. One day, when the coach had called out for a volunteer to help retrieve balls during practice, John had stepped forward. He figured it'd be a good way to stay close to the action without drawing too much attention. But as the weeks passed, he became a regular fixture on the court. The girls teased him good-naturedly, calling him their ball boy, but they also welcomed him like he was one of their own. Then, one fateful afternoon, everything changed. "John, grab a racket," called out Coach Melanie, the team's sharp-eyed but kind-hearted mentor. John froze. "Me? Yes, you. We're short a player for doubles, and I need someone to fill in for practice. You've been hanging around long enough. Let's see what you've got." The girls cheered and clapped, urging him onto the court. His heart raced as he picked up a spare racket and took his place opposite Mia and Sophie, the team's star players. To everyone's surprise, including his own, he wasn't half bad. His movements were clumsy at first, but as the game went on, he found his rhythm. There was something exhilarating about the way the racket felt in his hand, the satisfying thwack of the ball meeting the strings. For the first time in a long while, he felt alive. When practice ended, Mia jogged over, her ponytail swishing. "You're pretty good, John. Ever thought about playing for real?" He laughed nervously. "I don't think the boys' team would have me." "Who said anything about the boys' team?" Mia smirked. Her words hung in the air, teasing and tantalizing. The idea took root in his mind and grew like ivy, impossible to ignore. Why not join the girls' team? He already felt more comfortable with them than he ever had with the boys at school. But the logistics were complicated. The team was for girls, and no matter how much he wished otherwise, John wasn't one. Or was he? It started with small changes. John began to let his hair grow out, brushing it into softer styles that framed his face. He experimented with subtle makeup, just enough to make his features appear a little more feminine. When one of the girls joked about how he'd look cute in their tennis skirts, he laughed it off, but the idea stuck. One weekend, when he knew his parents would be out of town, John made his way to a thrift store and bought a second-hand tennis outfit, a white skirt and a fitted polo shirt with pink accents. Back home, he tried it on in front of the mirror. The transformation was startling. For the first time, he felt like the person staring back at him was right. "Jane," he whispered to his reflection, testing the name like a secret. "Maybe I'm Jane." When he finally worked up the courage to tell Coach Melanie, he was shaking so badly, he almost dropped his racket. "I want to join the team," he blurted out. As a girl, the coach studied him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Finally, she said, "This isn't a decision to take lightly, John. If you're serious about this, you'll need to commit, not just to the team, but to yourself." "I am serious," he insisted. "This isn't just about tennis. This is about who I am." Coach Melanie nodded slowly. "All right, let's give it a shot." The transition wasn't easy. At first, there were whispers in the hallways, skeptical glances, and even outright ridicule. But the girls on the team rallied around him, or rather, her. Jane became their project, their new little sister. Mia taught her how to braid her hair, Sophie shared makeup tips, and Alex, the team captain, took her shopping for proper tennis gear. Jane threw herself into practice with a determination she'd never known before. She wanted to prove that she belonged, not just to the team, but to herself. Every serve, every volley, every sprint across the court was a step toward becoming the person she was meant to be. By the time the first match of the season rolled around, Jane was ready. The gym was packed with students, parents, and faculty, all buzzing with anticipation. Jane's heart pounded as she stepped onto the court, the cheers and jeers blending into a deafening roar. She felt a tap on her shoulder and turned to see Mia grinning at her. "Ready to make some history?" Mia asked. Jane nodded, her grip tightening on her racket. The match was a blur of movement and noise. Jane played like her life depended on it, her every move fueled by months of practice and a lifetime of yearning. When the final point was scored, sealing the team's victory, the crowd erupted into cheers. As her teammates swarmed around her, lifting her off the ground in celebration, Jane felt something she hadn't experienced in years, a sense of belonging. Over the following weeks and months, Jane became an integral part of the team. She wasn't just playing tennis, she was living her truth. The whispers and stares gradually faded, replaced by respect and even admiration. Jane's confidence grew, both on and off the court. She started wearing skirts and dresses to school, her once awkward movements now graceful and assured. One day, as she was packing up her gear after practice, Coach Melanie pulled her aside. "You've come a long way," the coach said, her voice tinged with pride. "But this journey isn't over. It's not just about being a great tennis player, it's about being true to yourself. Are you ready for that?" Jane met her gaze, her chin held high. "I've never been more ready." The transformation wasn't just physical, it was emotional, mental, and spiritual. Jane wasn't just a feminized boy pretending to be a girl for the sake of a tennis team. She was Jane, through and through. And as she stood on the court, the sun setting behind her and her teammates cheering her name, she knew she'd made the right choice. This was her place, her family, her life, forever. The team's victory that evening cemented Jane's place among them, but it was only the beginning of her journey. Though she had proven herself on the court, she knew there was still a long road ahead, a road filled with self-discovery, acceptance, and the courage to face the world as her true self. The weeks after her debut match were a whirlwind of change. The school administration, caught off guard by the controversy of a transgender girl playing on the girls' tennis team, held several meetings to address complaints from parents and students. Coach Melanie stood firmly by Jane's side during every discussion. "She's proven herself as a teammate and as an athlete," the coach argued passionately at one meeting. "This isn't just about tennis. It's about inclusion and allowing every student the chance to thrive." The team members, too, rallied behind Jane, organizing petitions and speaking out on her behalf. For every disparaging remark or dismissive sneer, there was a teammate ready to lift her spirits. Mia, Sophie, and Alex became her closest friends, and their unwavering support gave her the strength to endure the tougher days. But not everyone was kind. One afternoon, Jane found herself cornered in the hallway by a group of boys from the football team. Their leader, Brad, sneered down at her, his towering frame blocking her path. "So, what's the deal, huh? You think you're a girl now," he taunted, his voice dripping with contempt. "You can dress up and prance around all you want, but you'll never really be one of them." Jane's stomach twisted, but she forced herself to stand tall. "I don't need your approval to be who I am," she said, her voice steady despite the fear bubbling inside her. Before Brad could respond, Alex appeared, her piercing glare enough to make even the most confident bully falter. "Is there a problem here?" she demanded, stepping protectively in front of Jane. The boys mumbled something unintelligible before slinking away, their bravado deflated. Alex turned to Jane, her expression softening. "Don't let jerks like that get to you. You're stronger than they'll ever be." That moment solidified Jane's resolve. She realized that while there would always be people who doubted or ridiculed her, there were also people who believed in her. And more importantly, she believed in herself. As the season progressed, Jane continued to grow both as a player and as a person. Her game improved with every match, her movements on the court becoming more fluid and instinctive. Off the court, she began to embrace her identity with confidence, experimenting with different styles and finding her voice. One evening, after a particularly grueling practice, Mia invited Jane over for a sleepover. It was the first time Jane had ever been included in such an intimate gathering, and she couldn't hide her excitement. The night was filled with laughter, snacks, and whispered conversations that stretched into the early hours of the morning. At one point, Mia pulled out a box of nail polish, and the girls took turns painting each other's nails. As Mia carefully applied a coat of soft pink to Jane's nails, she said, "You know, you've really changed since you joined the team. It's like you've finally found yourself." Jane smiled, her heart swelling with gratitude. "I think I have. And it's thanks to all of you. You've given me a place to belong." Mia grinned. "You've always belonged, Jane. You just needed to see it." The turning point in Jane's journey came during the regional championships. The pressure was immense, and the team knew they were up against some of the toughest competitors in the state. Jane was slated to play singles, a daunting responsibility that left her stomach in knots. As she stepped onto the court, the weight of the crowd's expectations pressed down on her. She could hear whispers and murmurs from the stands, some supportive, others judgmental. But when she glanced at her teammates, their encouraging smiles reminded her why she was here. The match was intense, each point hard-fought and grueling. Sweat dripped down Jane's face as she sprinted across the court, her muscles burning with exertion. Her opponent, a tall, athletic girl with a powerful serve, seemed almost unbeatable. But Jane refused to give up. She channeled every ounce of determination into her game, her focus razor-sharp. With each rally, she grew more confident, her movements a seamless blend of grace and power. In the final set, with the score tied and the crowd on the edge of their seats, Jane found herself in a position to win. She took a deep breath, steadied her grip on the racket, and served with all her might. The ball sailed over the net, clipping the edge of the line. Her opponent lunged for it but missed, and the referee's call echoed across the court. Game, set, match. The crowd erupted into cheers as Jane fell to her knees, overcome with emotion. Her teammates rushed onto the court, surrounding her in a jubilant embrace. For the first time, Jane felt like she wasn't just part of the team, she was a vital piece of it. That victory marked a significant milestone in Jane's life. It wasn't just about winning a match, it was about proving to herself and the world that she was capable of achieving greatness on her own terms. The experience solidified her identity, giving her the courage to take the next step in her journey. With the support of her family, friends, and teammates, Jane began the process of socially and medically transitioning. It was a decision she didn't take lightly, but it felt like the natural progression of the path she had been walking for so long. Her parents, initially hesitant, grew to embrace her identity with open arms. "We just want you to be happy," her mother said one evening, tears in her eyes. "And if this is who you are, then we'll support you every step of the way." Jane's father, though quieter in his emotions, showed his acceptance in small but meaningful ways. One day, he surprised her with a new tennis racket, its grip wrapped in pink tape. "For my favorite tennis player," he said with a wink. By the time the next season rolled around, Jane was no longer the timid boy who had shyly fetched tennis balls for the team. She was a confident, skilled athlete and a proud member of the girls' tennis team. Her transformation wasn't just physical, it was emotional, mental, and spiritual. The whispers and stares that had once followed her everywhere began to fade, replaced by admiration and respect. Jane became a role model, not just for her teammates but for other students struggling to find their place in the world. Looking back, Jane realized that joining the girls' tennis team had been more than just a leap of faith. It had been the first step toward discovering who she truly was. And as she stood on the court, the sun setting behind her and her teammates cheering her name, she knew she had found her forever home. Jane wasn't just a tennis player. She wasn't just a girl. She was herself, and that was enough. Thank you so much for watching till now. It means the world to have you here. This community is all about empowering each other and celebrating the incredible journeys of everyone on their path to living authentically. If you're ever feeling lost or alone, remember you have a whole family here for you. Hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, and let's keep inspiring each other, sending you all the love and strength in the world. Until next time, Live your life by your rules.